Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for sticking around for our tech talk, I guess. I don't know what you even call it. Nerdgasm.
Yeah, well, I did. I got my nerd on. Now, this is for my brother Joe. He'll know what I mean. At least I played a real sport. So, you've watched Trailer Park Boys before, a time or two.
Like the first episode.
All right.
Yeah.
You know who Bubbles is. Bubbles is a character on the show.
Mm-hmm.
There he is, right there. And he's played by a guy named Mike Smith. And the storyline for Bubbles is he was abandoned by his parents and grew up in this trailer park. And these two older kids took care of him. And that's about their lives. I have good news for all of our trailer park fans out there. I have found his mother. And here she is. There you go. The family resemblance is unmistakable right there.
Well, thank you for that. So Doc, why don't you kind of explain what this whole leak of this information is all about, if you're up on it?
Well, I'm not quite sure, because the U.S. has been step by step nailing these tax haven countries, and they do it through a combination of carrot and stick. They bring to bear a lot of pressure, as far as being able to do business with America, which is a big deal. And then they provide these countries incentives. They did it to the Cayman Islands. They did it to Switzerland. And now Panama is the country that just got done being bitten. Now, what these papers reveal is offshore tax havens. And it's called tax avoidance. It's not tax dodging. It's not tax. What else would you call it?
Tax evasion.
Tax evasion.
That's the big one.
That's what will get you in trouble. Well, all this is perfectly legal. It's all on the up and up. It serves a lot of legitimate purposes. A lot of these legitimate purposes are, the Clintons. Everybody knows where the Clintons live because there's all kinds of security. But the average nutcase that would want to shoot one of them probably wants to be able to find out exactly where they live, and they don't really have the resources to go dig that up. So you create a corporation that is offshore that owns your stuff so that you have some anonymity. Rock stars do it. Blake would do it if he were a rock star.
I would.
He's just a folk, he's just a singer in a rock and roll
band. Or if I had any money.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, that would help.
Yeah, so plus I'd keep those vagrants off your lawn if you did that.
I told you about that, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that was weird.
It was weird. So that serves a legitimate purpose. If you have somebody that has money, has power, whatever it is, fame, they want to be able to be anonymous and protect themselves. And that's a good way to do it. The problem is, a lot of times, the very laws that's set up to help legitimate people also help criminals. And as far as politics goes, there's no bigger set of criminals than the Clintons. And what this is all about, I think, is a political hack job by somebody. I don't know who. There's a lot of rumors out there, and everybody here knows how I like conspiracy theories. Apparently, it's this Modesto group. Is that what it is? Podesta group. And this law firm working together that has sheltered and helped people hide, according to some articles, hundreds of millions of dollars.
Nope.
That's according to some articles.
No. Podesta's not. Podesta hasn't been involved with Mossack Fonseca. The link in the papers is that the Podesta Group registered as a lobbyist for the U.S. subsidiary of Sberbank out of Russia, with respect to affecting the scope of U.S. sanctions for Russia's involvement in Ukraine. I assume what that means is Sberbank not being able to remit funds back to Russia that are frozen in Russian assets.
Now, part of this, I did misspeak. Thanks for the correction.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that. Normally I don't. Normally it starts a big old brawl. But on this one, Blake is right. But with this Podesta group, Podesta? With that group, they are also linked to the Clintons because they're a giant fundraiser. And apparently, somehow, they are linked to Sberbank, and they're also linked to this law firm. And I believe that this link is very tenuous at best. Now, there's a big rumor out there that that Putin is behind this to try to destabilize the Western powers, because the big thing going on is we want more socialism and we want things to change, and everybody in power is corrupt. And I think it's a legitimate argument. Because you look at Bernie Sanders, you look at the people that are protesting in Europe, people that are protesting in Greek, they're all like, well, hold on, how come we're all getting the shaft? I don't really think it was Putin because, one, it hasn't been all that effective, and two, it really kind of hurts him more than anything else. Now, the link between the Clintons, Podesta, is pretty strong. I mean, they've raised a lot of money for the Clintons. It's what they do. The problem is, when you start talking third and fourth and fifth degrees away, at what point are you really reaching for this? Now, I'm going to come out and we're going to defend Bubbles' mother here for a second. Bubbles' mom does what wealthy people do. They create these shell corporations, engage in tax avoidance. They try to put their property in somebody else's name of this corporation. It's all legal. I also don't think there's a giant link between Sberbank and obviously Sberbank and Putin would be a big connection, but there's been no proof that Putin's anywhere in these. What are there? There are 4 Americans that are even linked anywhere in these papers?
Well, the papers themselves are dealing mostly with Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. And the links that, I mean, the ICIJ, the International Council for Investigative Journalists, I believe, is the body that published this stuff. They got it from a German newspaper that initially there was a data breach. The German newspaper was who received the data. They gave it over to the ICIJ. The ICIJ identifies just like 140 former and current heads of state and a bunch of other kinds of politicians and power players. 4 Americans who are not politicians, I don't believe, and I think at least 2 of them have some other kind of criminal record, for financial issues. But no people with any political power in the country are directly involved. And the links to Putin are through his childhood best friend, Sergei. It starts with an R, and I can't remember how to pronounce his last name, and a couple of his other buddies.
Sergei the Russian.
Sure, and I apologize to any Russian listeners. I'm not casting some sort of Russians or Sergeys, but I can't remember his last name. His name is Sergei. I can't remember his last name. And a couple of other buddies that were sort of involved in the initial money grab after Boris Yeltsin. During the fall of communism, when the oligarchs over there got super wealthy in the collapse of communism and the rise of capitalism in Russia. So a few of Putin's friends, and that's how he gained all his political power for the most part, were linked to these different shell corporations, also these different banks that have been trying to move money around in avoiding European sanctions. So those are the links. Even Putin is not named directly
in any of this.
Any of it. Neither are the Clintons. Neither is any major American politician anywhere.
We're going to be back right after this break. We're going to talk about some of the conspiracy theories surrounding the Panama Papers, why this issue is important at this time, and then we're going to keep talking about Bubbles' mom because I like that joke. We're going to be back right after this break. Thanks, everybody.